Did you know that James Dean's Porsche, nicknamed Little Bastard, was rumored to be cursed, causing accidents even after his tragic death? From the shocking mystery surrounding Marilyn Monroe's untimely passing to the gruesome Hollywood sign tragedy of Peg Entwistle, the golden age of Hollywood wasn't all glitz and glamour. It held dark and chilling stories. Here are the 25 worst ways Golden Age Hollywood actors have died. 1. James Dean. James Dean was a rising star in Hollywood and a car racing enthusiast. His love for speed began in 1954 after filming East of Eden. He bought a Triumph Tiger motorcycle and a Porsche 356 and soon entered his first race in 1955 at Palm Springs. He did well, winning first place in the novice category and second in the main event. Dean continued racing, but his Hollywood career made it hard to compete as much as he wanted. In 1955, after filming Giant, Dean purchased a Porsche 550 Spyder, nicknamed Little Bastard, and prepared to race in Salinas, California. On September 30, 1955, James Dean and his mechanic, Rolf Wutherich, drove the Porsche to the race to break it in. While on U.S. Route 466 near Cholum, California, they collided with a Ford Tudor driven by Donald Turnipseed. The crash was brutal. Dean's car was destroyed, and he suffered fatal injuries, including a broken neck. Wutherich survived with serious injuries, while Turnipseed escaped with minor harm. Dean was pronounced dead at the hospital at 6:20 p.m. He was only 24 years old. 2. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was one of Hollywood's brightest stars, known for her beauty and talent. But behind the fame, she struggled with mental health and loneliness. On the evening of August 4, 1962, Marilyn was at her home in Brentwood, Los Angeles. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, became worried early the next morning when she couldn't get a response from Marilyn's locked bedroom. She called Marilyn's psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, who broke into the room and found Marilyn unresponsive in her bed. Doctors arrived shortly after and pronounced her dead. The autopsy revealed she had died from an overdose of barbiturates, a type of sleeping pill. There were no signs of anything suspicious, and her death was ruled a likely act of self-harm, though some believe it may have been an accident. Others have even suggested conspiracies involving powerful figures. She was only 36 years old. Her death shocked the world. Fans and celebrities mourned her loss, and her funeral on August 8th was private, attended only by close friends and family. Joe DiMaggio, her ex-husband, arranged the service and famously sent roses to her grave for 20 years. 3. Jayne Mansfield. Jayne Mansfield was a popular Hollywood actress known for her glamorous life. On June 28, 1967, she was in Biloxi, Mississippi, for a show at the Gus Stevens Supper Club. After midnight, she, her partner Sam Brody, their driver Ronald B. Harrison, and 3 of her children, Miklos, Zoltan, and Mariska, left in a 1966 Buick Electra 225 to drive to New Orleans. Jayne had an early TV appearance scheduled the next day. Around 2:25 a.m. on June 29th, their car was traveling on U.S. Highway 90. The road was foggy because of a truck spraying insecticide ahead. A tractor-trailer had slowed down due to the fog, and the Buick crashed into the back of it at high speed. Tragically, Jayne, Sam, the driver, and 2 of her dogs died instantly. Her children, who were asleep in the back seat, survived with minor injuries. There was a rumor that Jayne was decapitated in the crash, but this isn't true. She suffered severe head trauma, which caused her death. The confusion came from police photos showing what looked like a head on the car's windshield. Some say it was a wig she was wearing or part of her scalp, but it wasn't confirmed. After her death, the trucking industry started using metal safety bars, called Mansfield bars, to prevent cars from sliding under large trucks in crashes. This safety feature has saved many lives. Jayne's body was flown to New York, and her funeral was held on July 3, 1967, in Pennsylvania. 4. Rudolph Valentino. Rudolph Valentino was one of Hollywood's first great movie stars, known as the Latin Lover. On August 15, 1926, while staying at the Hotel Ambassador in New York City, he suddenly collapsed. He was taken to the hospital where doctors diagnosed him with appendicitis and gastric ulcers. Surgery was performed immediately to save his life. At first, things seemed to be improving. Doctors told the media he was stable, and everyone hoped he would recover. But just a few days later, his condition got worse. The ulcers had caused peritonitis, a dangerous infection in his abdomen. Back then, antibiotics didn't exist, so infections like this were often fatal. On August 21st, Rudolph's health took a turn for the worse. He developed pleuritis, an infection in his lungs, which made it even harder for him to fight the illness. Despite his severe condition, doctors didn't tell him he was dying. Instead, they kept him hopeful. On the morning of August 23rd, Valentino briefly woke up and spoke to his doctors about his future. Sadly, he soon fell into a coma and passed away at the age of 31. Rudolph's funeral drew thousands of mourners, with fans lining the streets to say goodbye. People were heartbroken to lose such a beloved star so suddenly. Some even fainted from the overwhelming emotions. 5. Carole Lombard. Carole Lombard was a famous actress who was deeply loved by her fans. When the U.S. joined World War II, she traveled to her home state of Indiana to support the war effort by raising money. At a rally, she helped collect over $2 million in defense bonds in just one night. After the event, Carole, her mom, and Clark Gable's press agent, Otto Winkler, planned to return to Los Angeles by train. But Carole, eager to get home faster, decided they should fly instead, even though her mom and Otto were scared of flying. In the early hours of January 16, 1942, they boarded a Transcontinental and Western Air (TWA) plane. After refueling in Las Vegas, the flight took off around 7:00 p.m. Unfortunately, the plane never made it to its destination. It crashed into Potosi Mountain near Las Vegas due to navigation issues. Safety beacons, usually used to guide planes at night, were turned off during the war to prevent enemy attacks. This left the pilots unable to avoid the mountains. All 22 people on board died, including Carole, her mom, Otto, and 15 U.S. Army soldiers. Carole was only 33 years old. The news of her death devastated Hollywood and her husband, Clark Gable. He was heartbroken and reportedly never fully recovered from the loss. 6. Natalie Wood. On November 29, 1981, Natalie tragically drowned while on a weekend boat trip with her husband, Robert Wagner, and her friend, Christopher Walken. The group was on Wagner's yacht, Splendor, near Catalina Island. The exact details of Natalie's death remain a mystery. Her body was found the next morning, a mile from the yacht, near a small dinghy that was beached nearby. The autopsy revealed bruises on her body and an abrasion on her cheek, but it was unclear how or when she got them. Natalie's blood alcohol level was high, and she had taken medication that increased the effects of alcohol. The coroner initially ruled her death as an accidental drowning, suggesting she may have fallen while trying to reboard the dinghy. However, doubts have lingered. Natalie's sister, Lana, said Natalie was terrified of water and would never have gone near it alone. Witnesses on a nearby boat claimed they heard a woman screaming for help that night. Years later, the case was reopened when the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern, admitted he had lied to police. He said Natalie and Wagner had argued that evening, and Wagner stopped him from turning on the searchlights or calling for help. In 2012, the coroner updated Natalie's death certificate to say the cause was drowning and other undetermined factors. Up next, a Hollywood actress is found in her car, and the mystery around her death still baffles everyone. 7. Thelma Todd. On December 16, 1935, Thelma Todd's body was found in her car, a 1934 Lincoln, parked in a garage near her restaurant in California. She was dressed in an elegant gown and jewelry. The garage belonged to Jewel Carmen, the wife of director Roland West, who was also Todd's business partner. Police ruled that Todd's death was caused by carbon monoxide poisoning. She may have started her car to stay warm or drive home after being locked out by West. However, the case was surrounded by mystery. The night before, Thelma attended a party at the Trocadero, where she argued with her ex-husband. Despite this, her friends said she seemed happy and had no reason to harm herself. An autopsy showed no signs of violence, but there were rumors of other injuries that were not confirmed. Investigators called her death accidental, but didn't rule out self-harm or murder. A grand jury was later involved, but no foul play was found. The case officially closed as an accident, though suspicions lingered. 8. Jean Harlow. In early 1937, Jean Harlow became ill after filming her last movie, Saratoga. She had been sick before, dealing with infections and exhaustion, but this time was different. On May 20, 1937, Jean started feeling very sick during filming. She had nausea, pain, and looked bloated. At first, the studio doctor thought it was the flu, but her condition worsened. Co-stars like Clark Gable noticed something was seriously wrong. Jean's breath even smelled of urine, a sign of kidney failure. Her fiancé, William Powell, rushed to her side and brought in more doctors. They realized Jean's kidneys were failing, but it was too late. On June 6, she became unable to see clearly and slipped into a coma. She died the next day at just 26 years old. Jean's death shocked everyone in Hollywood. Rumors spread that her mother, a Christian Scientist, refused medical help. But this wasn't true. Jean had been under a doctor's care the whole time. Jean's funeral was private, and she was buried in a pink negligee with a gardenia and a love note from Powell in her hands. 9. Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi, famous for playing Dracula, died peacefully in his sleep on August 16, 1956, in his Los Angeles apartment. He was 73 years old. His wife, Hope, found him when she came home from work that evening. It was later confirmed by a medical examiner that Lugosi had passed away around 6:45 p.m. from a heart attack. Rumors spread that Lugosi died holding the script for The Final Curtain, a project by Ed Wood. But this wasn't true. What made his passing more memorable was that he was buried in his Dracula costume, including his iconic cape and ring. This decision was made by his wife and son, who believed it was what Lugosi would have wanted. Lugosi's funeral took place on August 18, 1956, at a Hollywood funeral home. Friends, family, and some of his co-stars attended, including Ed Wood, who was a pallbearer. His wife Hope and his ex-wife Lillian worked together to handle the funeral arrangements. He was buried in Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City, California. Despite being a Hollywood legend, Lugosi left behind very little money, just $1,000 and some property. 10. Judy Garland. Judy Garland, best known for her role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, died on June 22, 1969, at the age of 47. Her husband, Mickey Deans, found her unresponsive in the bathroom of their rented home in London. An inquest later revealed she had accidentally overdosed on barbiturates, a type of sleeping pill. The coroner explained that Judy's death wasn't intentional. The pills in her system were taken over time, not all at once. There were no signs of foul play or self-harm. However, Judy had struggled with health problems and exhaustion for years, and her body was severely weakened. A doctor said she had been living on borrowed time. After her death, Judy's body was flown to New York, where thousands of fans lined up to pay their respects at her funeral chapel. On June 27, 1969, a private Episcopal service was held, and actor James Mason delivered a heartfelt eulogy. Judy was buried in Ferncliff Cemetery in New York. 11. Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate was a beautiful actress and 8 months pregnant when her life ended tragically. On August 8, 1969, Sharon had lunch with her friend Joanna Pettit and talked about missing her husband, Roman Polanski, who was in London. That night, she had dinner with friends Jay Sebring, Wojciech Frykowski, and Abigail Folger. They returned to her home around 10:30 p.m. Just after midnight, members of the Manson family cult broke into her house. They brutally murdered everyone inside, including Sharon and her unborn baby. Sharon begged them to spare her and let her live long enough to give birth, but they showed no mercy. She was tragically harmed, and her body was discovered the next morning by her housekeeper. The Manson family didn't know Sharon personally. Their motive was tied to the house, which used to belong to music producer Terry Melcher, who had connections to Charles Manson. Sharon was buried on August 13, 1969, holding her unborn son in her arms. Her funeral was deeply emotional, with friends and family grieving the loss of such a kind and talented person. 12. George Reeves. George Reeves, best known as Superman, died on June 16, 1959, from a gunshot wound to the head. He was found in his bedroom at his home in Benedict Canyon. Reeves was 45 years old. That night, Reeves was hosting a small party with his fiancée, Leonore Lemon, and some friends. According to reports, Lemon said Reeves was upset and went upstairs to his bedroom. Moments later, a gunshot rang out. When police arrived, they found Reeves' body, a gun at his feet, and a bullet hole in the ceiling. His death was ruled an intentional act, but many questioned this conclusion. There were strange details, like no fingerprints on the gun and no gunpowder on Reeves's hands. Some even suspected foul play. Witnesses claimed to hear only one gunshot, but police found 3 bullets fired in the room. Leonore Lemon suggested Reeves was depressed over his struggling career, but his friends disagreed, saying he was optimistic about future projects. But don't go anywhere. Our next story is about an actress whose tragic end is tied to the Hollywood sign. 13. Peg Entwistle. Peg Entwistle was a young actress whose dreams of Hollywood success ended tragically. On September 18, 1932, a hiker near the Hollywoodland sign found a purse and a note. Below the sign, they discovered Peg's body. 2 days earlier, Peg had told her uncle, with whom she lived, that she was going to meet friends. Instead, she climbed a ladder to the top of the H on the Hollywood sign and jumped. The coroner determined that her death was caused by multiple fractures. The note she left behind read, "I am afraid. I am a coward. I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain." P.R. Peg's uncle identified her body after seeing the note published in the news. At just 24 years old, she had appeared in a few stage productions and one film, 13 Women. She reportedly struggled with rejection and disappointment in her career. 14. Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson, a Hollywood heartthrob and one of the first celebrities to go public with an AIDS diagnosis, passed away on October 2, 1985, at the age of 59. Hudson was diagnosed with AIDS in 1984, but he kept it a secret for a long time. At the time, there wasn't much information about the disease, and many people viewed it with fear and stigma. Hudson continued working while traveling to different countries, hoping to find a cure or treatment. In July 1985, he appeared on TV alongside his friend Doris Day. Fans were shocked by his pale, thin appearance, which led to widespread speculation about his health. Days later, Hudson collapsed in a Paris hotel, and his publicist initially claimed he had liver cancer. However, the truth came out when his French publicist confirmed he had AIDS. Hudson returned to Los Angeles, where he spent his final months in hospice care. His health quickly declined, and he passed away peacefully in his sleep. Hudson asked for no funeral, and his ashes were scattered between Wilmington and Catalina Island. After his diagnosis became public, Hudson's illness brought attention to AIDS and helped change how people viewed the disease. 15. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift, a talented actor known for his dramatic roles, died on July 22, 1966, at the age of 45. Clift spent most of the day at home in his New York City townhouse. His private nurse, Lorenzo James, didn't speak much with him that day. Late that night, James asked Clift if he wanted to watch a rerun of his movie The Misfits. Clift firmly replied, "Absolutely not," before heading to bed. The next morning, at around 6:30 a.m., James tried to wake Clift but found his bedroom door locked. Worried, James climbed into the room through a window and discovered Clift lying in bed, lifeless. He immediately called doctors, but it was too late. Clift had suffered a fatal heart attack. An autopsy revealed that Clift's heart attack was caused by coronary artery disease. While many believed his years of drug and alcohol use had contributed to his declining health, the autopsy showed additional health issues like colitis and an underactive thyroid. These conditions may have made him appear unhealthy even when sober. Clift's funeral was held at St. James's Church in Manhattan and attended by close friends, including Lauren Bacall and Frank Sinatra. 16. Veronica Lake. Veronica Lake, a Hollywood star famous for her peekaboo hairstyle, passed away on July 7, 1973, at the age of 50. Known for her roles in 1940s films, Lake's later life was far from glamorous. Years of heavy drinking took a toll on her health and career. In June 1973, Lake returned to the U.S. from promoting her autobiography in England. While traveling in Vermont, she visited a doctor complaining of severe stomach pains. Tests revealed that she had cirrhosis of the liver, a serious condition caused by alcohol abuse. On June 26, Lake was admitted to the University of Vermont Medical Center. Her condition worsened rapidly. On July 7th, she succumbed to acute hepatitis and kidney failure. Her son Michael claimed her body, and a small memorial service was held at the Universal Chapel in New York City on July 11th. Following her wishes, Lake was cremated, and her ashes were scattered off the coast of the Virgin Islands. Years later, in 2004, some of Lake's ashes were reportedly found in an antique store, adding an unusual twist to her story. 17. John Barrymore. John Barrymore, once one of Hollywood's greatest actors, died on May 29, 1942, at the age of 60. His life was full of ups and downs, with his amazing talent often overshadowed by his struggles with alcohol. In his later years, Barrymore's drinking caused health issues and made it hard for him to work. Barrymore's career had faded by the late 1930s, and he mostly took smaller roles. He tried to revive his career with stage performances and radio shows, but his declining health and memory made it difficult. He even used cue cards to remember his lines. Despite his struggles, Barrymore stayed dedicated to acting. In 1942, while recording a radio line from Romeo and Juliet, Barrymore collapsed. He was taken to Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital, where he died 10 days later from cirrhosis of the liver and kidney failure, worsened by pneumonia. His passing marked the end of an era for one of Hollywood's most talented stars. 18. Anna May Wong. Anna May Wong, Hollywood's first Chinese-American movie star, passed away on February 3, 1961, at the age of 56. Known for her grace and talent, Wong broke barriers in Hollywood, but her career was often limited by racism and stereotyping. Wong's career spanned silent films, talkies, and TV. Despite her success, she was often given roles that reinforced Asian stereotypes. She was scheduled to appear in the film Flower Drum Song, but health problems forced her to step back. Wong's final performance was on The Barbara Stanwyck Show in an episode called Dragon by the Tail, which aired just days before her death. Wong passed away in her sleep at her home in Santa Monica, California, from a heart attack. Her death marked the end of a trailblazing career that had inspired many despite the challenges she faced. Coming up, we'll talk about a martial arts legend whose shocking death left the world in disbelief. 19. Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, the martial arts legend, died on July 20th, 1973, at just 32 years old. Known for his incredible skills and charisma, Lee's sudden death shocked fans worldwide. On the day he died, Lee met producer Raymond Chow to discuss the movie Game of Death. Later, they visited the home of Betty Ting Pei, a friend and actress. Lee complained of a headache and took a nap. When he didn't show up for dinner, Chow returned to check on him, but Lee couldn't be woken up. A doctor was called and tried to revive Lee but couldn't. He was rushed to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Hong Kong, where he was pronounced dead. An autopsy revealed that Lee had cerebral edema, or brain swelling, possibly caused by a reaction to medication. Lee's death came just weeks before the release of his most famous film, Enter the Dragon. He was buried in Seattle, with pallbearers including his close friends Steve McQueen and James Coburn. 20. Grace Kelly. Grace Kelly, the Hollywood star who became Princess of Monaco, tragically passed away on September 14, 1982, following a car accident. The day before, Grace was driving back to Monaco with her daughter Stephanie from their countryside home. While on a winding mountain road, Grace suffered a mild stroke, causing her to lose control of the car. Despite Stephanie's attempts to steer, the car veered off the road and fell 120 feet down a mountainside. Both Grace and Stephanie were rushed to the hospital in Monaco. Grace suffered severe injuries, including a fractured femur and brain trauma. Initially, doctors thought she might recover, but she had a second, more severe stroke in the hospital. Sadly, Grace passed away the next evening at 10:55 p.m. at the age of 52, after her husband, Prince Rainier, made the heartbreaking decision to turn off her life support. Stephanie, who had a concussion and a minor neck fracture, couldn't attend her mother's funeral. On September 18th, a funeral was held at the Cathedral of Our Lady Immaculate in Monaco. Over 400 people came to honor Grace, including close friends and notable figures like Cary Grant, Princess Diana, and Nancy Reagan. Grace was buried in the Grimaldi family vault, where Prince Rainier joined her after his death in 2005. 21. Lupe Velez. Lupe Velez, a Mexican actress known for her fiery personality and Hollywood success, tragically ended her life on December 14, 1944, at the age of 36. On the evening of December 13th, Lupe dined with friends Estelle Taylor and Venita Occhi. Afterward, she returned home and locked herself in her bedroom. That night, she took 75 Seconal pills with brandy. Her secretary, Bela Kinder, discovered her lifeless body the next morning. Nearby was a heartbreaking note addressed to her former lover, Harold Ramond. Lupe expressed her despair over his rejection and mentioned their unborn baby, saying she couldn't face the shame of raising the child without him. Harold told reporters he was shocked by Lupe's death and claimed they had plans to marry, even though their relationship had ended. Estelle Taylor, who had been with Lupe the night before, said Lupe mentioned her pregnancy and her unwillingness to have an abortion. Bela Kinder later revealed that Lupe had considered going to Mexico to have her baby, but changed her mind after feeling betrayed by Harold. Her funeral was held on December 22nd at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Los Angeles. 22. Paul Byrne. Paul Byrne, a Hollywood producer married to actress Jean Harlow, was found dead on September 5, 1932, at their Beverly Hills home. He had a gunshot wound to the head, and the coroner ruled his death as a suicide. Police discovered a note near Byrne's body. It read, "Dearest dear, unfortunately, this is the only way to make good the frightful wrong I have done you, and to wipe out my abject humiliation. I love you. Paul, you understand that last night was only a comedy." The cryptic message left many questions unanswered. Authorities believed it was a suicide note, but the meaning behind the words remained unclear. Jean Harlow told police and a grand jury that she didn't know anything about what had happened. She never publicly spoke about the tragedy. Burns' death caused a media frenzy, with rumors spreading about possible scandals and secrets in his personal life. Burns' funeral was held on September 9, 1932, at Grace Chapel in Inglewood Park Cemetery. Over 2,000 people attended, including many of Hollywood's elite. 23. Clara Bow. Clara Bow, the iconic it girl of the 1920s, passed away on September 27, 1965, at the age of 60. Known for her beauty, charisma, and star power, Clara's final years were quieter, spent away from the spotlight. Bow lived in Culver City under the care of a nurse named Estella Smith. Her health had been declining, and she had struggled with mental health issues throughout her life. Despite stepping away from Hollywood years earlier, Clara still managed to maintain a comfortable lifestyle, supported by an estate worth around $500,000 at the time of her death. On the day she died, Clara suffered a heart attack. Her autopsy revealed that the cause was atherosclerosis, a condition where the arteries harden and narrow over time. It was a peaceful end for someone whose life had often been marked by drama and struggle. Clara's funeral was attended by close friends and colleagues from her Hollywood days. Pallbearers included big names like Jack Dempsey, Richard Arlen, and Buddy Rogers. She was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery in Glendale, California, in the Freedom Mausoleum, Sanctuary of Heritage. 24. Ramon Novarro. Ramon Novarro, a famous silent film actor, tragically lost his life on October 30, 1968, under violent circumstances. He was 69 years old and living in his home in Laurel Canyon. Two brothers, Paul and Tom Ferguson, aged 22 and 17, contacted Novarro, offering their services. They got his phone number from someone who had previously been at his home. Novarro sometimes hired companions through agencies, so he agreed to meet them. But the brothers had a different plan. They believed Novarro had a large amount of money hidden in his house, a rumor that turned out to be false. When they arrived, the Fergusons tortured Novarro for hours, trying to force him to reveal where the money was hidden. They severely hurt him and left him unable to get help. Tragically, Novarro could not survive his injuries and passed away. Before leaving, the brothers took just $20 from his bathrobe pocket. The police quickly caught the Fergusons, and both were sentenced to prison. However, they were released on parole in the mid-1970s. Despite their release, their lives took dark turns. Paul Ferguson was rearrested for a crime and later killed in prison in 2018. Tom Ferguson also faced legal trouble and died in 2005. 25. William Desmond Taylor. On February 2, 1922, the body of William Desmond Taylor, a well-known film director, was found in his bungalow at the Alvarado Court Apartments in Los Angeles. At first, someone claiming to be a doctor declared Taylor had died of a stomach hemorrhage. However, when investigators arrived and rolled over the body, they discovered he had been shot in the back. The doctor disappeared and was never identified. Taylor was 49 years old at the time of his death. Taylor's funeral was held on February 7, 1922, at St. Paul's Cathedral. After an Episcopal ceremony, he was interred at Hollywood Cemetery, now called Hollywood Forever Cemetery. The inscription on his crypt reads, "In memory of William C. Dean Tanner, beloved father of Ethel Dean Tanner. Died 1st February 1922. When police searched his pockets, they found several items, including $78 in cash, about $1,420 today, a diamond ring, a silver cigarette case, a pocket watch, and a locket with a photo of actress Mabel Normand. This suggested robbery wasn't the motive. However, a large sum of cash Taylor had shown his accountant the day before was missing. The investigation uncovered strange details. Actress Mary Miles Minter, who had a complicated relationship with Taylor, claimed he had been acting strangely and making delusional comments before his death. A director and actor, Marshall Nealon, also thought Taylor had become unstable. The case quickly turned into a media frenzy, and the Los Angeles film industry became worried. The murder brought negative attention to Hollywood, and studios feared it could hurt their business. If you found these stories fascinating, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more untold Hollywood tales. Let us know in the comments which story surprised you the most.